Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The Redskins host the Green Bay Packers at home this weekend at 8:30, and I think we can all agree, win or lose, it'll be nice to give a lowly, underexposed franchise like Green Bay a primetime matchup. Historical pedigree and sarcasm aside, the Packers are not playing their best football this year, having dropped the last 3 in a row. We must be the sharks to the wounded seal that is their defense. We're here to break it down so you don't have to. It's the Hog Sty, and it's coming up next here on the Hog Sty Podcast Network.
Your host, Sean Conti.
Hey there, everybody. My name's Sean Conti. Got a good one for you tonight. What's good in the hood, Steve Thomas?
I'm just excited that we have become a network. You know, we're on the Hog Sty Network now. Mm-hmm. Last I checked, right. We were a crappy website and a podcast, and so I'm very excited now that we are officially a network.
Well, check again, Steve. Our dependable man at the controls is here again tonight. It's Alex Z's on the keys. What's up,
man?
Alex?
How's it going? I'm ready to talk some football today for a change, which is rare because late at night.
Yeah, it's Hog Sty late night. That's right.
You ought to be used to this late night stuff at this point, Alex. Come on.
Yeah, I know. I didn't take a midday nap though.
Siesta. All right, well, more importantly, guys, we're joined by the one and only Jamual Forrest. Now, Jamual is a fan who not only turned his feelings and thoughts on the Skins into a respectable blog, letmaultellit.wordpress.com, but he's also worked with some prominent names in the land of Redskins coverage. More importantly than that, he's listened to our little show once or twice. So, Jamual, welcome to the show, my man. Are you ready to break down some Packers?
Oh, yes, I'm ready to break down some Packers. This is the perfect timing, too, because, the past 2 hours, I've been watching the Wizards trying to overcome a 24-point deficit to the Philadelphia 76ers.
You ought to be used to having
Wizards.
Yeah, you ought to be used to just watching the Wizards try to overcome a deficit.
That's this year, man. I just don't know where it's been. It's awful. But this is a perfect distraction for tonight. So I'm ready to get started.
Well, I got on a Caps t-shirt and a Washington Valor hat, so no Wizards repping here. But
yeah.
That's not a bad thing for tonight. You don't have to, look at your attire on your apparel and say, oh my goodness, how bad are we?
Exactly.
You don't have to do that at all.
All right, well, let's pivot then to some gosh darn Green Bay Packers, guys. Never a dull moment when these guys are in town. So we want to talk some offense. We want to talk some defense. Steve, do you want to hit us with any stats? What do you want to say?
I'd like to start. Let's start, if you guys don't mind, let's start with Redskins defense versus Packers offense this time.
Because you have to start with Golden Boy Aaron Rodgers. You've got to start with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, you have to start with Aaron Rodgers. And the thing about the Packers is this. They really, really, really miss Eddie Lacy, okay? Mm-hmm. You guys need to understand, out there in listener land, need to understand that this Packers team without Eddie Lacy is a god-awful, atrocious, horrible, terrible rushing team. Awful.
Right.
They really miss Eddie Lacy. He's out with an injury on IR. Aaron Rodgers is actually the second leading rusher on the team right now with 207 yards. It is amazing. It is the all Aaron Rodgers show all the time, period. And that's, I think we've seen that ball game in DC too. It's all passing. He's passed 56 times a game in some of these games. From a ranking standpoint, I'll just run through some numbers real fast. They're 12th in points, 18th in total yards, 15th in yards per game, 28th in passing yards per attempt, which is interesting because we've got, Mr. Hero, Aaron Rodgers at the command. They are 21st in rushing yards, in 7th in rushing yards per attempt, but everybody understand that those numbers are because Aaron Rodgers is rushing a lot. Yeah, it's not because their running backs are doing anything. Their running backs are terrible. So that's some basic numbers. Basically, for me in this game, as goes Aaron Rodgers, as goes the Packers. It's kind of as simple as that.
Well,
Well, I was just going to chime in with Steven and just say I agree. Simply, it's really boom or bust with Aaron Rodgers, and when you deal with a quarterback like that on a struggling offense like Green Bay, they haven't looked so good, especially with all the weapons back. Since early on 2015, they got off to a good 6-0 start, but it's went downhill from that point as far as the offensive production, but Aaron Rodgers has kept that train moving regardless. And each of these wins has a lot to do. Probably, if I had to give a percentage, probably 85% had a lot to do with Aaron Rodgers, and that's just the way the game goes with them.
Well, and the Packers just signed a guy off the waiver wire, I believe, Christian Michael, who was a Seahawk.
Who we know well. He was in Redskin land for a cup of coffee.
Right. Now he's what, a 3-year vet or something like that? I don't remember exactly, but I believe he's just a guy, but it's probably going to be their starting running back. That's how desperate they are.
Yeah, I mean, he instantly becomes their best running back for sure.
Right.
I like to go back to Aaron Rodgers and get you guys' opinions on Aaron Rodgers' season, because you hear a lot of stuff in the news and in the media about Aaron Rodgers having a mediocre season, and numbers wise, I mean, he is. His quarterback rating is only 93.9. Right. He's got 2,400, a little over 2,400 yards, just 63% completion percentage. For him, those are mediocre. But I would propose to the group here that the reason is that the running game is so awful that he really doesn't have a choice, and that's bringing down his numbers.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you. To both your points, Steve, I think you said, the offense definitely is going to rise or fall with Aaron Rodgers himself. Right. And to Jamal's point, this kind of goes back to last year when they had lost some guys to injury. Obviously, Jordy Nelson was out for a big portion of the year. It didn't really get a lot better, like Jamal said, with all hands on deck again in 2016, which I think a lot of people were surprised by. If you look at it, and I'm just reading off what people in Packerland say because I don't watch Packer games, but they're saying his fundamentals are off. He's not finding open receivers. His receivers aren't really helping him out either. He's kind of in a bit of a slump, and I just want to point out that he is right now ranked below Kirk Cousins, Marcus Mariota, and Derek Carr. It's kind of a funky place for Mr. Rodgers to find himself. That's all I'm going to say. It's been a bad season.
The other thing that you kind of got to look at, and I was watching some of their highlights, while I was at work throughout the day, when I just had a slow moment. Because
you're paying attention to work and not football.
Well, sometimes I have dead times in my job where I can get away with things. I'm amazed that they let me, they haven't blocked it at this point.
Better hope they don't listen to this show.
The thing that amazes me is just how often he is behind that O-line having to run around and scramble just to buy time. And I wonder if that's been playing a big factor into it as well for Aaron Rodgers.
I actually think you brought up a great point because, oftentimes when you look at Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams, and Jordy Nelson, I would never sleep on a group like that.
Oh no!
But at the same time, when you look at that same group, they've struggled to separate from any type of man coverage all year, and that's the thing that's killing Aaron Rodgers. He's great at buying time. He's great at extending plays, and that's what he's deadly at when he extends plays. He's also, like Steve said, the second leading rusher on the team, if I'm not mistaken. So, this is something that he can do. If he gets out the pocket, he's dangerous. He's not Mike Vick. He's not Mariota. He doesn't have that blazing speed, but he will kill you if you let him get outside the pocket. And also, if you break down any type of coverage, he will fling it. And the receiving end of those type of big plays has been Devontae Adams for them as well. I think that's their X factor on the offense and the receiving game. Him and Aaron Rodgers have some type of chemistry going on down the field where, he's oftentimes hit Devontae Adams specifically down the field on key breakdowns and extending plays outside the pocket.
Yeah.
Number one, I think, for those who are paying attention to the noise about Aaron Rodgers' mechanics, he's always had bad mechanics. He's always thrown off his back foot. He has such a strong arm that he can just fling it down the field like no other quarterback can, even though he's off balance. But the point I really want to make was, as to this team and why he's scrambling so much, take a look at this injury list. Their starting left tackle, Bakhtiari, injured knee problem. Their starting guard, TJ Lang, foot problem, didn't practice. He's been out. Right. Their starting center, JT Treader, knee. He's been out for 3 games.
They are banged
It's not
up.
just, all up and down the line. And so you're talking about a team like the Redskins that can really rush the passer because we have 25 sacks now. You're ranked 6th in the NFL. You're going to see a guy who's really running around and really flinging the ball.
Look, I just want to go back to actually something Jamal said a second ago. I feel like what's going to happen, because this is going to be on Joe Barry. Whatever look the Packers offense gives isn't necessarily what's going to happen in the course of the play, okay? And this is, I think, what Jamal was saying, which is totally true. Aaron Rodgers is going to take any play. He's going to be little twinkle toe Aaron. He's going to run around behind the line of scrimmage, and he's going to extend plays. So Joe Barry has got to, I feel like he's got to hold back. Don't send the house, because that's going to kill us. You've got to hold back people in coverage to stay on them. Otherwise, we cannot keep coverage for like 20 seconds, and that's what Aaron Rodgers does.
Well, I think you make a fair point that Joe Barry has to adjust, obviously, and that's not necessarily his strong suit. The thing that I think is going to be interesting to watch is we didn't make a ton of moves on defense, but a lot of the moves we made on defense in the offseason were based off of our loss to the Packers in the playoffs. We
that's a
got
great
rid of
point.
A lot of our fat, slow linemen and went leaner, faster, quicker, so that we can deal with the hurry up. Because, I mean, look at what the Packers did last time. They got us off sides all the time. Got us with the false starts, and that was partly due to the fact that we had these older style, slower defensive linemen. And then we improved our secondary because we were getting chewed up by Rodgers when he would find an open receiver.
Right.
So, essentially, as far as what Alex said, I just want to expand on that just a little bit.
Go for it.
When you speak on building off of what happened when we played the Packers or when the Skins played the Packers, that's actually a very fair assessment, because when you play teams like the Packers, or when you play teams like the Panthers, as far as last year, when you play teams like the Packers, the Panthers, when you play the Falcons, when you play these premier teams, where you have to know, how am I going to match up in the future against these offenses? How am I going to match up against these defenses? We brought in Jamison Crowder last year. We didn't know how good he was going to be, but he's become one of the best slot players in the league. This year, we brought in Kendall Fuller in the third round. We didn't know how great he was going to be off a knee injury. But what did he do? He became, after they finally decided Deshaun Phillips can't ball, can't do it. So they finally put in Kendall Fuller, and what is Kendall Fuller doing? He's locking down the slot position. But
I don't know if he's locking down the slot position though. I mean, he didn't do too well last week.
And that's what I was going to bring up, because I was like, he was locking down the slot position, and then you go against a guy like Stephon Diggs, where he gives you fits, pretty much a good portion of the second. Pretty much all of the second quarter. He gives you fits. So when you go against a team like this is a real test. This is a test. Randall Cobb, like I said, they're not the best players as of right now, but Randall Cobb has been a premier slot receiver for a couple of years. So Kendall Fuller will have another test. He will have another opportunity to redeem himself. And obviously they've seen things last week against the Vikings where, you see these drags and these picks where they essentially didn't adjust, or maybe they just weren't used to it. It's something that they haven't seen before. They have this week to prepare for the same things, and I think that this week they will lock up these guys and be prepared for when they see such looks like that. So it will be a test for Kendall Fuller. Definitely.
I'd like somebody to tell me what Quentin Dunbar did to get on the Joe Barry naughty list, because he had, I think, 9 snaps last week. I think the guy has talent. We're getting a little off track with that, because I guess it is what it is now, but it just...
It's a question that came from the heart, Steve. You have a right to ask it.
I always like Quentin Dunbar. I think he's a talented dude.
Well,
but
I think Joe Barry, we all know he's slow to react, right?
Yeah.
That's such a nice way to put it.
Well, and I just like to point out that all these moves that we made over the offseason, to Alex's point with the defensive line a few minutes ago, this didn't exactly result in good, okay? We are basically exactly where we were last year in many respects, and the run defense has been terrible, basically all year, with the exception of the Minnesota game, and they're they can't run the ball.
That speaks for itself.
And Detroit can't run the ball. And Detroit can't run the ball either. So all the stuff they did didn't really do much in terms of statistical success. Plus, again, as we pointed out before, Josh Norman fell into our laps. It's not like that was a plan. He just, we kind of lucked into him.
Yeah, you're right.
I agree. Sorry about that.
Wrong at all about that. But my overall point is, I think it was more just a clear indication that there's going to be this change in philosophy, that we're going to be a faster line, not a big line. That kind of that. I mean, we drafted a corner and we ended up lucking into one of the best free agent corners of the past probably 3 years.
Yeah. I'd like to let's go back a little bit to Green Bay specifically, though. I'd like to get your guys' opinion on that. Because again, we've talked about how this is the Aaron Rodgers show. Well, the question, of course, is what do we do about him? How do you stop Aaron Rodgers? That's the key. We can talk esoterically all day long, but how do you stop Aaron Rodgers?
I've got an idea. Okay, this is maybe not necessarily Aaron Rodgers' kryptonite as much as I think it's going to be a key to the game for us on defense. Generate some fucking turnovers, guys. If we don't do that, Green Bay, I think, is a team that's going to march down the field for an entire quarter and then punch it in at the end. We cannot allow them to drag all the time out and score at the end. We've got to get them off the field. I think that's going to be the key, for us. That's what I would think.
I agree with that as far as forcing turnovers. And, the bright side about facing the Aaron Rodgers offense this year is that just a quick flashback to what you guys talked about earlier. He isn't the same quarterback from years prior, and with his inconsistency down the field, you'll have your opportunities to force bad passes from Aaron Rodgers, and I think the way you do that against him, and I spoke about the secondary with Alex, is simply because you have opportunities to play man coverage against these guys. So if you play man coverage against these guys, force tight passes from Aaron Rodgers, you have to hope that pressure gets home and do it consistently. Right. Against the Vikings, we had pressure, but it was sporadic. Like, you had it in the first quarter, it went away in the second quarter. They put up 21 points 20 points, 3 touchdowns, and 3 consecutive drives. It went away. So in order to stop Aaron Rodgers, you just have to make sure your back end plays well, and then you consistently bring pressure to keep that man inside the pocket and keep him fluttered. You don't want him to feel any type of confidence or feel any type of comfortability in that pocket, because once he gets that confidence, you've seen what he did with us in the playoffs. It was terrible. You don't want him to get that way. It's a matter of time.
I'll throw some numbers at you guys that kind of, I think, fit the discussion. Time of possession, 8th in the NFL. This is all despite not having a running game, which I think is instructive. 31 minutes, 31-15, 8th in the NFL. Third down conversion rate, 46.7%.
They hold that ball.
Which is 5th in the NFL. You don't normally see passing teams that are all like the San Diego Chargers, type of the late 70s, who are going to have that high of time of possession, that high of third down conversion rate. That means, and if you couple that with the fact that he's throwing real short passes, 6.5 yards per attempt, per attempt, that means he's going short pass down the field, sort of AKA West Coast offense style, only in the Aaron Rodgers unique, less improvise everything style.
Run around for 47 seconds
from my perspective. Yeah. So I think the key to me is you got to get edge pressure. Keep the contain on the edges with Kerrigan and Preston Smith. Keep him in the pocket. If you can keep him in the pocket, he's less dangerous. And so I think that's the key. And if you just force him to sit back there and try to pick you apart, I think we have a little bit of an advantage.
I mean, when I look at Aaron Rodgers, he's a very similar quarterback to one we're familiar with, and that's Tony Romo. I mean, yes, I agree with you on that, but they play a very similar type of game.
Named.
Yeah,
is how we refer to him on this show.
So. Well, he who has no back left.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think you really need to kind of approach Rodgers the same way we would approach a game against the Cowboys when they had Tony Romo, and you kind of got to contain him, try keep him from scrambling for first downs, and really don't play him. You play the receivers. You try and take away as many weapons as you can.
Yeah.
Well, we know Joe Barry isn't going to vary his coverage, right? I mean, we know we're going to be basically in the 4-3 front, cover 3, go to nickel sometimes, single high safety. It's not going to change. And so in that case, we're really relying on the athleticism and the talent of Breland and Norman to keep those guys.
It better change, Steve, or he's getting a harshly worded letter.
Well, he has a big tub of vanilla ice cream sitting on his desk.
Just waiting.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just wait.
The thing is, lately though, I do want to throw a little credit towards Barry's way. Like he has recently he's actually gotten more comfortable running man with our corners out there. So I do think
that's true.
That's recent. I can't really speak on the whole season. I'm not sure, but I have noticed, like, since Kendall Fuller started playing, he's just gotten way more comfortable running man with the corners that we do have out there, and understood that Breland hasn't had the best year, so to speak, since Norman came. But at the same time, things have been working out for this secondary, and I think with the breakdowns in coverage, sometimes you may not notice it because pressure got home. So we can't see those things from a fan's view watching the game, but it's just things are working right now for Barry and for that defense, and they're playing not great, but at times they're playing really they're playing good enough.
That's a totally fair point, Jamal. And this is why we have other people on the show, because for us, we just bash Barry all night and have a grand old time.
It's kind of fun.
I got my issues with Barry, man. But I do notice, at times he's gotten, as the year went along, it's been horrible the first month maybe, but as time got along, he's learned his personnel more. Even Sue is starting to play more. They're finding ways to keep him on the field, and I think, and he's been an excellent blitzer as well. So it's just things that he's getting used to. We got a lot of, it's not great talent, but we have good enough talent where he can use these guys and use their strengths, and I think they're doing a pretty good job. So
you got to work around what you got.
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, that's basically it. And I'm not saying we have the best defense, but it's not the worst. It's just good enough.
Yeah, it's getting the job done, particularly these last few weeks. No, it's a totally fair point. So, I don't know. I think that's a pretty damn good prognosis for what we got to deal with on defense. Should we talk a little about Skins' offense, keys to victory here, guys?
Yeah.
I would say, just to lead us off, just an opening thought here, I think Tennessee might have given us a blueprint here. If we can explode out of the gates to take a big lead, that seems to be the way that people are beating Green Bay this year. I don't know if we're going to rip off a 75-yard run like DeMarco Murray did from the first play of the game, but
I think that's safe to assume no.
It's safe to assume no.
I like what Kelly's doing, but that's not his type of run.
He's not.
Listen, he's not. The Redskins have done. I don't have the stats right in front of me. Forgive me. I should have thought about this, but we've done really well with the opening drives in a lot of these games.
Well,
we've driven right down the.
Haven't we set some kind of record for like the number of non-3-and-out drives right now or something like that? It's ridiculous how good the offense
doesn't seem like you could possibly rewrite, but I won't challenge you on that.
Yeah, I think I was about to say I think going into
45%.
No. This was like this is like
5%. So
I think only 9% of our drives have stalled on a 3-and-out. It's something ridiculous like that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I don't remember the exact number, but I heard it and I was like, that's insane that it was so low.
Don't fact check him.
Well, someone can fact check me and post it on our Twitter. Don't fact check him.
Just take it as the gospel truth.
The good thing for our offense though is it's a good number, about 43 is from Pro Football Reference. 43% of our drives has ended in scores, which is actually 5th best in the league. So that's another stat to look forward to as far as the offense, but. Obviously, hold on a minute. Tell you how many touchdowns.
Yeah, you can't throw that number out there without pointing out that we are last in the NFL in touchdown percentage in the red zone, which has been our Achilles heel. Because if you look at this offense moves the ball really well. Okay, we know this. That's not revolutionary. A revolutionary idea. 6 in total yards. 3rd in yards per play. Even our rushing attack is done real well over the last month. 16th in points.
We have a great scheme, and we have a quarterback who knows how to execute it. It just struggles in the red zone.
Yeah, it struggles in the red zone. And part of it, I think, goes back to the fact that we just don't run the ball enough in the red zone, and that the defense is keying on the pass, and it's compressing the field. When the secondary, the actual physical space of the secondary isn't as much, and so unless you have Jordan Reed get open, I think they struggle a little bit because we don't have big receivers. The fade, as we all know, is not an option for us. Yeah. A good option.
By my count, 0-137 on the fade this year.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, is that it?
Sounds fair.
It's close to
these
it,
are
man.
Alex stats. We can do a whole episode of Alex stats.
Alex stats. I'm ready to roll with them right now. No, it sounds good. No, I would just say, and Steve, I don't know if you were about to give us some more stats, but I'm just saying it would be a shame to stumble and fall against this average pass defense that Green Bay represents after moving the ball pretty well against Minnesota's 5th-ranked squad through the air. We should be able to do some damage through the air. If we don't, I would be, a little bit confused.
We should be able to do damage, period, against this team. Listen, I don't think, in my opinion, this team needs to do anything special against the Packers. we keep playing Redskins football. Keep doing what we do, and we ought to be fine in terms of offense. I will say this, and I'll let it go. I'll relinquish the floor here, but you guys have to remember out there that Clay Matthews has been out for 3 games.
Yep,
it's not an accident that they lost all 3 games. He's an all-pro. He's one of the best outside linebackers in the game. He may be back this time. He was a limited participant in practice Wednesday, so it's too early in the week to know. A huge boon for the Packers if he comes back.
Yeah, right. And I agree with that as far as Clay Matthews. I didn't personally notice that he was out, the Atlanta game too. I thought he was in for whatever reason, I don't know. But I didn't know he was out. But as far as, their defense with Clay Matthews is dramatically better, with him on the field. And I just feel as far as our offense, you got, as far as fans, it's easy to be, not optimistic, but have a little doubt when you face teams like this. But as far as the year has shown you, the resume, obviously points is a big factor, but you got to know, you got to start feeling confident that it's really not going to be an issue moving the ball against these guys. There hasn't been a team outside of the Ravens, in my opinion, that has issues stop. They all have issues stopping us. And when you go against the Packers, especially a secondary that's as depleted as theirs, you're going to have opportunities down the field. And it's up to Kirk, to find those big play opportunities and connect on them. You don't want to go 0 for 3 on those big play opportunities. You don't want to go 0 for period. At least if you hit 1 or 2, then you have an opportunity of putting points on the board and scoring on the explosive plays. You don't want to have to drive down the field constantly, which is a good thing, but explosive plays can also excite your defense as well.
That's right.
It just does things for your team, and it excites the crowd as well. Does a lot of things.
Jamal, you think this is finally the time for Deshaun Jackson to come back to life by any chance?
Yes, absolutely.
You think so? This might be the week?
And the thing is, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure you guys know as well. I think he started practicing again today too.
I have a note on that. He was. They called him officially a limited participant in practice, which means he was out there doing. But it's just too early in the week to know whether he's going to play or not. We're recording on Wednesday night for those of you out there, and it's just
the fact
Wednesday
that he's participated some already would be a good
progress.
indication.
Yeah. It's a good thing. And as far as Deshaun Jackson, I feel as if, to be honest, and this isn't a knock on Deshaun. It's not saying that he's been ineffective. We've tried to get him the ball and it just hasn't worked out on part of the quarterback. He's overthrown him, he's underthrown him, he's put him in bad situations. But at the same time, there's things that we can involve Deshaun in different ways, and especially if he's able to buy in. I'm not saying that he doesn't want to do certain things, but if he's willing to run certain routes or run to different areas of the field where he can make this offense even greater, and we can get him positioned to get the ball and make a play. It's a perfect time for Deshaun to get involved, and I really hope if he does play that he has a big night, because if he does, clearly it's big things for this offense.
Dude, I hope so, because I just want to say for the folks at home that Green Bay's receivers, struggling offense that they have right now, are all pretty much sitting the top D-Jacks on the rankings, which is sort of disappointing. So I think we all are ready for him to come alive, especially, he better hope he does if he wants to be on this team. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that their secondary is all banged up.
Oh no,
Randall and Rollins are both hurt. Those guys are starters. It may be a good opportunity to exploit this defense. I think the overarching point to me is we really ought to be able to move the ball on this team. We really ought to be able to score. The issue is, does Aaron Rodgers become Superman or not? To me, that's the key to the game.
Yeah, the defense wasn't even doing anything impressive when their starters were healthy. So with all these guys they have out, we really should. This should be a 300-yard game for Kirk, no question. That in my mind.
Well, I would just ask you this. Is it all going to come down to which linebackers are playing for the Packers? Let's think about who moves the offense for this team. It's Jordan Reed. It's off in the tight ends.
Davis,
is it going to Is it going to come? Yeah, Davis especially. I mean, these last few weeks, Davis has been a huge tool for us. So, I mean, is that what it comes down to, guys? Who's healthy and who plays at linebacker for the Packers, you think? Or,
well, specifically as far as, Green Bay's defense, I feel like just in general, their front seven, regardless. If Clay Matthews is out, that's obviously a big key, but just their front seven in general has been pretty formidable, I guess. And their guy, I think Nick Perry, I think that's his name, who pretty much him and Mike Neal last year in the playoffs, they had a big night against this same offensive line. So including Trent Williams. Trent Williams had he didn't have a good game. So, and that's kind of weird to say with Trent Williams. You don't say he doesn't have a good game but
it's not a sentence most Redskins fans are used to hearing, Jamal.
Yeah, and it just felt weird for me saying it. So, he didn't have a good game against the Green Bay Packers, and now you have Tyron Secchi, which he did good against Everson Griffin, but these are the same guys if Clay Matthews come back, Nick Perry and Clay Matthews combined for 3.5 sacks against his last season. Right. So we're going to have a hands full against this front seven, and that's going to be the biggest thing when Kirk drops back to pass, that front seven, and protecting Kirk Cousins in his pocket. And, yes, I do think it comes down to the front seven and the linebackers for Green Bay against our offense.
I have faith in Tyron Secchi. Our colleague, your former colleague, I guess, Robbie Duncan, has convinced me about Tyron Secchi, and so I'm on the Tyron Secchi train. I think that he can hold his own against these guys. You're right; they have a talented, they have a talented front seven, and Clay Matthews will only make him exponentially better. But our O-line is one of the best in the NFL. I don't think they get enough credit. I pointed this out on our Twitter account.
Well, it's because 3 years ago, Steve, they were probably the worst in the NFL.
I realize that, but listen, I mean, they've given up, 12 sacks on the season. And we've had, our running game has come alive over the past few weeks, despite having Matt Jones out there up until through, a week ago. So I have confidence in our O-line. So.
Okay. Well, on that positive note, should we go on into our game predictions for this weekend, guys? Sure. I guess since I'm forcing us to do that, I can go ahead and jump on this grenade, as we like to say, and go first. Also, it's best because it's my prediction's somewhat negative, so let's get it out of the way.
Okay.
I feel like this is the deal, guys. It's going to come down to who's more desperate. Are the Redskins more desperate to keep winning, or are the Packers more desperate to stop losing? And I got to be honest. This is not a position the Packers, I feel like, are generally used to being in. I mean, I know they're great in prime time. They're great up against the ropes, but at the same time, I just don't – I guess I should say because of that, I don't think they're going to stomach losing a fourth game in a row. Not this team, even on a bad year. Unfortunately, I'm thinking my worst-case scenario comes true, and they end the game on an extremely long, drawn-out final drive that ends in a score without even giving us a chance to come back. I think they take this one by a touchdown.
Boo.
I know.
All right.
Let's cleanse our palate by someone else talking now.
Tell you what, let's save our guest for last.
Sure.
To get his expertise last. So I'll go next. I'm slightly more optimistic about this. I would like to point out that when we did our preseason predictions, I called this game as a loss. So I'm going to go against my own prediction here, given how the Packers have been playing versus how the Redskins have been playing. Yes, it's a primetime game. Yes, we've been terrible in primetime over the years. But it is at home. The Packers are 1-3 on away games this year. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Most of the teams that play against them, a lot of them are scoring in the 30s. The Titans of all teams put up 47 points. So I'm going to say this is a fairly high-scoring game, something along the lines of 31-28 Redskins.
And you know what? I just want to say, sorry to interrupt, to Steve's point, the Packers are number one in the league over the last 3 points for points allowed. So I think he's probably right that this is going to be a high score. Sorry.
Yep.
And Steve actually stole the score I was initially going to predict.
He does
you can
that.
Copy me. It's okay.
Yeah.
You can steal my prediction.
He's a little thieving bastard is what he is.
I mean, I think I'm going to change it up kind of on the spot here. But I think you're right. I think it will be kind of a high offensive heavy game. I'm really I'm worried a lot more because of the whole primetime jinx we seem to have.
Oh yeah,
you guys, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We will come. We tend to sleepwalk that second half at the primetime games.
Oh yeah.
but I think the Redskins know that they need to keep winning to stay competitive. I think Gruden has shown that he has coached these guys to fight through adversity. And I was going to say the same 31-28, but I'm going to go 27-24 Redskins.
Just to be contrarian.
I said 31-28. You said 38-28.
No.
I said 31.
I said 31.
I thought you said 38. Maybe I'm just not listening because I'm eating pizza while we're recording this.
That could be.
Yeah.
Goddamn
By the way, we could do a whole show where we're all just eating pizza one day. That'd be great.
Yeah, we've all done that. So, Jamal, what do you think?
I'm about to say, that's probably a good idea, pepperoni pineapple pizza from Papa John's, But it's crazy because
we got to talk about those pizza toppings after the show. Sorry, continue.
might have to, but it's crazy because as Alex was speaking, I realized I had the same exact score, but it was off by a point. Mine was 27-23 Redskins. But see, the thing with me is I just realized as the season went along, and it's just time for me to feel comfortable with the fact that the Redskins are just actually a good team. Like, I'm not fighting the fact that they're stuck in mediocrity anymore. Like they've shown consistently every single week that they can compete, and they fight against every single team that they've been against. Like they've been in every single game. That a 14-point deficit or however much they were down by against the Bengals, that doesn't faze them. A 10-point deficit against the Lions, that doesn't faze them. Like they can get back into each game. And when you face a team like the Packers who's been struggling, I don't care that they lost 3 games. And I'm pretty sure this team doesn't care that they lost 3 games. Like the Redskins are still going to come in, handle their business. The Vikings did the same thing. They was losing 3 straight. They still took a 20-14 lead going into the halftime. It didn't faze them. Came back, scored 4 straight drives in the second half. It's just something that this team does, and I think that Monday primetime game has been a big issue in the past. But in the past, we haven't had a team like this. And when you have a team like this who's used to winning, or who's learning how to win, is what I should say, who's learning how to win, they can compete against any team. Aaron Rodgers is like, we beat Drew Brees last year.
That's right.
We beat Drew Brees last year, and I understand his team's terrible, but you face teams with great quarterbacks all the time. Mm-hmm. They'll have, if their team is struggling and they're struggling, then it shouldn't affect you. We're going to be better, and I think this game is going to prove that we're actually on a mission, and it's going to come down to a big primetime game, national television, on my birthday, aka Thanksgiving.
Hey,
Dallas Cowboys. So
you have a Thanksgiving birthday? Badass.
Yeah, man. I'm pretty. I'm kind of lucky. I get to eat a lot of good food on my birthday. Nice. So be fat for a day. But that's just how it is. But I do think that this team is on the up and coming, and a lot of people are starting to notice that nationally. And I mean, I don't care about what they say nationally. I always like it as an underdog, but a lot of people are just noticing what we're doing, nationally, and it's gonna work out well for us on Sunday night.
Cool.
Okay, so Jamal says win.
Let's hope
Steve
you're right.
says win, right? And then Alex, I'm sorry, what did you say? Redskins win or
24.
Redskins or
yeah,
okay, Redskins win. So I am the lowly loser. Okay, let's not call attention to that.
You're the only negative butthead out there.
Hey, Sean, if you had gone win, I would have gone loss, just so one of us would have picked a loss.
That's right. Okay, good. We're covering all our bases. All right, sweet. Well, with that, ladies,
I ain't scared of you, Aaron.
There we go. That's the perfect thought to end us up. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we ain't scared, and we will see you next week. We'll see the Packers on Sunday. It's going to be good times. We'll see you next time right here on the Hog Sty. Take care.
Bye.